Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is What Does It Mean to Be Human with Ben Gare. I just wanted to give you guys a bit of an update. There's been a hiatus over the Christmas, New Year's, end of 22, 20, and coming into 23. And there's a few changes that have been going on in sort of the background here, and I wanted to kind of give a bit of an information about what's been going on, where I'm at. Ron was on the channel all of last year. I began it with him, and we've known each other for a long time. And while it was great to have someone to bounce off and really start to get that ball rolling of what did we want to do and where did we want to go, and what was the creation that was wanting to come from making a podcast, it was started to feel like it was getting a bit stagnant and redundant by the end, and no fault of anybody's. It was just we know each other well, we know each other's stories. It was supposed to be a very informal chat about how we see healing, what healing means to us, the individual paths that we choose to take, and how that looks in our world and reality. But as I say, as we talked more and it started to develop, it felt like the same conversations repeated over and over. And I wanted to kind of really understand where was the value in that for you, because you could hear how we digest our path, the path that we choose, and our individual techniques and tools that we use. But we don't know what we don't know, and we only know so much. I've been in this field of healing for 20 plus years now. Ron had been similar, and we've done many courses together. And I really wanted to go in the direction of branching out to getting more guests on who have their own individual genius that may know things that I don't. Because I'm in a perpetual learning place of wanting to know more. How do I become the best version of Ben, better version of Ben? And if I keep using all I know, of course, that's going to get to a certain kind of a shelf level, because, as I say, we don't know what we don't know. And if you just keep using the same tools over and over, it is going to feel like you're stagnating a bit. So it's always nice to introduce new ways to look at things. And because I'm also helping clients, and I'll break down a bit of how I work with people. What does my programs look like? I've launched a new program this year in 2023. So I'm going to give a bit more of an outline of what that does look like. So if anyone's interested in working with me and how they might challenge their own idea of what they think being human is, what they think they themselves are, and how to break the past, and often a lot of the philosophy I come from, at least, a lot of our conditioning, a lot of our programming, a lot of our mental blocks are put in place due to repetitive, repeating patterns. Can be trauma. I kind of don't want to put that out there, but I mean, obviously it's a big part of it. And also trauma is not always what we think it is. Often we create these stories around whatever it is. It can be money, it can be relationships, can be work, the kind of work that we do or should be doing. Should is another one of those big words that we really don't want to be coming from, because they're an externally imposed set of conditions that you're expected to be. And I for one, am not big on that, because it starts to create a limited play pen that you're able to work within, and who wants to feel that they can only achieve X, Y, Z? there's always A, B, Q, and everything else in between. And as I say, the more that we have an idea enforced over and over again, and this can be as simple as earning money down to your parents hated rich people because rich people are all terrible people. Okay, kind of not an uncommon one, but that can actually start to sabotage your own internal ability to create money, because if you create it, you will start to think, well, if money people that have money are terrible people, I don't want to be a terrible person. So it doesn't matter where you're coming from. You may start to put limitations on what you can and can't achieve. Coming from not feeling of deserving or not wanting to rock the boat, tall poppy syndrome, all that kind of stuff starts to create these blocks and things in the mind. So I wouldn't call that a trauma, but it's also a misunderstanding of the situation, which a lot of actual trauma can be sometimes. It's your brain just doesn't comprehend, is not adult enough yet to comprehend what is actually going on, and starts to make meaning of things that may or may not be true. I'm always left alone by a parental figure. They might actually always be there. They may just be in another room, not giving you the attention you wanted in the moment that you wanted it. And the more times that you see that this doesn't happen, you start to reinforce the story that, well, you make it mean something about yourself, that I'm not deserving, I'm not worthy of, there's something wrong with me, etc., etc. And so a lot of these blocks, conditions, limiting beliefs are put in place often to keep us safe. You know, if you knew all of your stuff that held you back instantly, if I could flip a switch in you, that meant that none of those stories were created or valid anymore overnight. If I could just do that in one instant, you really wouldn't be able to handle it, because you compartmentalize it in your brain. You kind of shut it away as a process, because you couldn't deal with all the feelings that came with it. So it was a safety mechanism in terms of, that's way too much to feel right now. Shut it down really quickly. And hopefully the idea is that later you'll come back and start to unpack that in the time and space that you've got. But often, if that's happening as a child, we're not taught to unpack it later. We don't think to, we don't know how to. And then the more times you layer over top of that belief systems that, oh, something similar happened to that one time X, Y, Z happened. And so therefore, oh, that's more confirmation I am not lovable, not worthy, not good enough, etc., etc. So as I started doing work on myself, and I understand all these and worked with many people around the world, I started to see these patterns coming out more. And I started to use tools that I had found, and primarily I started with breath work, and that included counseling as well. So the breath was a great way to take you beyond the conscious mind and start to tap into the unconscious. So a kind of regression, but it's your unconscious mind rules about 90% of your reality, and your conscious mind rules 10%. So if your unconscious is ruling 90% and it doesn't forget and doesn't understand time, it's not linear. So something that happened 5 minutes ago as opposed to 5 years ago, it can't tell the difference. It just remembers the feeling. So breathwork was a great way of me getting out of my head, getting into my body, and going beyond just the counseling on the terms of I have to know my problems to talk about them. I have to be open enough to feel safe enough to be able to talk about them. And that, for when I started, that wasn't really an option for me because I was so stuck in depression and not knowing any of these things that I really wanted to make a difference. And breathwork was this sledgehammer that came in really hard and heavy. It's great for that. A lot of breathwork that's being done these days seems to be the lighter version. And while it definitely can be, I think its great value is in going very deep very quickly and noticeably by everybody. And I was a stubborn, drank a lot, did a lot of drugs. I needed something really big to go, wow, what was that? And it was it for me. And that's where I started. And as the more I did that, I wanted to get into different ways of processing emotions at the end of the day, changing patterns, getting over mental blocks, etc. And I just started to follow my own body and how that worked, how it worked for me. And sexuality was one of them. So after breathwork, I went into sexuality. Because of the drug past, I had a lot of experience there, which naturally later led me into plant medicine. So that's something I've worked extensively with as well. So consciously on a level, not taking chemicals. I haven't done chemicals in over 20 years. Purely just natural plants as is, no synthesizing, no changing anything beyond its pretty raw state or a tea at best. And how psychedelics, which ultimately the plant medicines are, if anyone doesn't really know what I'm talking about there, it's psychedelics. Branch your mind out into areas you didn't know were there. And I think the beauty of it is you ain't got a choice. You're in for the ride once you do it, and you are going to go where you want to go. You're going to go where you need to go, even if you don't want to go. It's probably a better way of saying it. And so any of this kind of idea that people can get psychosis or damage, or been in a recent thread that all these chemicals are toxic, they're not. That's just a lie. It's false information. And the person writing it even said they were terrified of all drugs. And it's like, okay, well, anything can be abused or misused. You can overdose from water. So, I mean, choosing to go there consciously is very different than taking drugs, because I wouldn't call it that. But yeah, and because you don't get a choice on where you're going or what's going to open up for you, that can be a pretty horrible ride. And if you haven't got the personal development behind you to navigate safely within that, it becomes a very tricky situation. And so I'm much more about the education about how to do that safely, how to create before and after care, and things like that. So yeah, these, and I also do an energy work, kinesiology, where I'm able to again tap the subconscious, find emotions, release them. And these are some of the ways I work with people. But again, I don't know what I don't know. And so the intention of fleshing out a few of my ways of working with things and working with people is going to come out in this series from this point onwards. But I'm also going to get on more guests that maybe I have an inkling of what they do or a fascination for it. I've actually just recorded one on human design, which again, I've touched about with Ron, profiling and how to get more accurate with how to navigate your own energy. I find that stuff fascinating. So it's great to have this guest on to give us a broader overview. Not because I'm saying I can do it. I'm happy to refer people to those who are expert in whatever field they're in. But it's something I know a broad smattering of. When I work with clients, I get them to do charts if they hadn't done it, just so I know what I'm vaguely working with and I can go from there. And that's all I need to personally know. But if it interests you, I always encourage clients to dive deeper and dig deeper into. Once you know how you work, you can work more efficiently. And that is part of my human design profile, actually. We're all about efficiency because we don't have a self-generated energy center. And I'll explain what all of that means a lot later. But because we don't have a defined energy center, we often need rest. And being around people, we absorb a lot of energy from people. And that's why my path is to maximize efficiency, is to make that path shorter for everybody. And so yeah, that's just part of where I'm coming from with the channel moving forward. I want inspiring stories about how people healed, what tools they use, the individual gifts that they have, and how they share that in the world, because I've got a lot of plans moving forward into the future, and I want to create spaces where this is explored safely, and we're able to come together as a community to really forge new ways, as I kind of see it. Like I see a lot of story BS and, misunderstanding within the spiritual communities around sometimes. And that's just my perspective, that I'm not even making anybody wrong for it. I just feel like I've watched it in over 20 years explode to a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's unregulated. And that means anybody who does a weekend workshop can instantly be an XYZ. And I have a bit of a problem with that. I've got a lot to say, and I really want to create a different way where consciousness is raised and we're educated about why we do what we do, as opposed to just doing it, going back to our normal lives and then wondering why things are turned upside down and we're not coping as well as we'd hoped. Or we get stuck on the addiction of constantly needing the workshop. I believe that I want all of my clients to get to the place that they have their own self-authority and are able to navigate without any support. That's my goal. Obviously, we all need help sometimes. So it's not that you're fully autonomous, potentially, but at least being able to do the basics. Because again, you'll hit your shelf at some point, and then someone who's been there or walked that path a bit more than you have can give insight to areas you don't know, and that's what it's all about. So that's kind of where I'm at for moving forward in 2023, and I just wanted to kind of get this ball rolling again. It's been almost 6 weeks since I've done one of these, and I've kind of been, not sure how it's going to go, being solo now, talking at a screen and without that personal interaction. So much in my mind that it's easy to get sidetracked sometimes. And so, keeping me on track with a subject or what I'm seeing in clients lately, or what I think is relevant of how you can help to navigate your own reality better, or if not, reach out and get support and help from either me or a guest that sparks your interest. So that's sort of where I'm at for the beginning of the new year, and I just want to thank everyone for being here, and let's see what unfolds with the new format, and I hope it sparks change, because that's my biggest desire, to see a better world that doesn't have so much stuff holding it back, and more individuals that are forging a new way. So Thank you very much for staying with the journey, and I will try and keep this weekly from now on and get back on track with being able to support more of you more often with information, people, strategies, and tools. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time. Bye.